Authorities say their interest, their focus is not elections but security first. Now, what do you think? What do you make of that?
I think it's simple to understand. The first thing is security. That's what is important. I mean, creating a serene atmosphere where people can grow and people can develop their nation. So I do not understand the idea and the pressure for elections. You see, we have to be very conscious of where Africa is coming from and what are the challenges of Africa and what Africa today is as far as democracy and leadership in Africa is concerned. We understand that we have so many interferences, both home and abroad, when it comes to our leadership, and I think that's an abuse. When we talk about democracy, the people should be able to decide what is good for them. You see, I keep asking the question that what should be the challenge if a man kills a lion and the head of the lion they want to take the head away from him? They should allow Assimi Goïta to decide what is good for his people. Because I look at the military as a medium between the state or the government and the civilians. So in the case where the government is not meeting the demands and the plights of its people and its society to develop the life of its people based on what the nation has, is the role of the military to stand up and create what I call a transition whereby the people can get into an all-inclusive dialogue and decide a way forward for them. I keep citing the case when Sankara took over power. Who called in for elections? When Mohammed Gaddafi took over power, who called in for elections? I do not understand where this idea of democracy is really coming from, because the people who are pressurizing us to use democracy in our constitution as a condition, if we were going to manage ourselves, we must use democracy. By themselves, they do not practice democracy. I do not understand where we believe that is through democracy Africa can progress. We are talking of 60 years of the reborn of Africa by the West. Democracy has not taken us anywhere. In our partnership with the West who brought democracy here, Africa is underdeveloped. Africa is heavily exploited. As a matter of fact, that Africa economics, politics is not being managed, and how will I call it, the autonomy of our own future is not given to us to decide. Why must America come in? Why must the UN come in? Whenever do we interfere in what happens in America or in what happens in Europe? What is the ECOWAS doing? As a matter of fact, the ECOWAS is a huge disappointment to me. Where is this pressure coming that they have been using the ECOWAS like a microphone? When the EU or the UN wants to speak, they use the ECOWAS in speaking. They use the AU in speaking. Those organizations are all disappointment to Africa. As a matter of fact, AU should have been the one managing and manding the unity and weathering all these 54 nations that were broken down by the imperialists. These are historic, how will I call it, struggles that we are having in Africa today that are caused by the imperialists, whereby we needed the AU to carry on the vision of the OAU, which was brought to Africa by the diaspora, creating an Africa which gives an environment where Africans around the world can feel at home. But Africa today is such a one that the 54 nations are run individually as private state-owned companies managed on the behalf of the imperialists. We can't run down this road. And that is why I say I'm suggesting that what should be done, as a matter of fact, what AU is trying to do in Mali is to create instability and to cause confusion, allowing the people to go on the street, for example, and agitating for an election. You cannot put in an election where you are talking of a civilian government. At the point at which we are in Africa, we don't need civilians. We are at war. We are far behind. We need speed, we need energy, we need resources, we need capacity. We need citizens, young men and women who can give in their best to develop their nation. Young men who can assume responsibility and understand that they should be masters of themselves and to decide their own future. We don't need civilian. What are we talking about civilian government? Which democratic election leads or gives power to civilians? When we talk about the population of Mali of 20 million, for example, how many political parties? Divide that 20 million in political parties. 60%, almost 50% are not eligible to vote. How then do we say democracy gives the room for the majority to decide the government when already majority of its population are not even eligible to vote?
How do we go in to build a nation and then we come in from divided minority groups? We should be able to build the same system that America is using that speak about democracy, that China is speaking about. In America, you have what they call the Electoral College. Whether the people vote in all the 30 how many states in America, the Electoral College has to decide who is going to be the president. Is that democracy? In China, it's 2,980 persons that appoint the president. What are we talking about democracy? At the level of the UN National Security Council, since 1945, no election has ever taken place. They have made us to understand that power is centralized and power is, how will I call it? It's hereditary. That is the way they have been ruling the world. So what is the problem if Assimi Goïta today has taken over power on the behalf of the population to create a Mali whereby it can allow the Malians to find a future in their own country? We are getting all this pressure. The AU should have been supporting Assimi Goïta. The ECOWAS should have been supporting Assimi Goïta because the people are fighting for self-determination. 25 years under a democratic system, the Malians have suffered. They went out on the street because they realized that every democratic government has never favored them. Why do you want to take them back from the same place which they are coming from? And then you are talking of civilian government. No. What we need dictators. We need strong men who know what is good for their people, who can resist pressures coming from outside and give their nation, build their nation, and give a vision to their citizens to where they are going to. With all of this distraction, the citizens in Mali today cannot even know what is the plan of Assimi Goïta because there's a lot of distraction. We can't run down this road. They should allow him, like I kept saying, Thomas Sankara took over at the age of 35. What did he do in Burkina Faso? Why can we not believe that Assimi Goïta can do that? Why must all this pressure? And that is why I'm saying that until the African nation, the ECOWAS, I will speak specifically on Nana Addo, Paul Kagame, we cannot cite few African countries doing well when majority of the African countries are still living in abject poverty. As African nation, we should grow up simultaneously as a body, build unism at the level of our leadership, at the level of our masses, at the level of our economy, our politics, education, and so many other things that harmonizes all together so that the embodiment of our identity should be preserved. So this is very important that we do not need ECOWAS to use Mali as a trade to demand for its own currency. Because right now, as a matter of fact, many people do not understand. Assimi Goïta was not to choose Russia, but because of the pressure which they have put on him that he cannot run Mali without the presence of or the absence of any veto member. So he had to choose Russia. But if ECOWAS was in support, if AU was in support, will Mali choose Russia? The answer is no. AU has an army. What is the army doing that Russia, Mali will need to go and seek security from Russia? It is because they left him with no option. He's standing as an island. We have Guinea-Conakry, the same case, standing as an island. So when do African Union, the ECOWAS begin to understand that we need to decolonize Africa? We need to unite Africa because it was broken down. We need to build that Africa whereby the Africa in the diaspora, Mr. Abid Ben-Louis, why do we need to seek help, for example, from the West? We have chunks of Africans out there. Can we not seek solidarity among ourselves? Africans have capacity, they have resources. All our human resources today are all littered abroad. We need to find a way and build alliance in order to build Africa.